Alright, in this video we are going to be going through the questions from exam 15FL, Math 75, exam 2. And I'm just going to go through all the questions, sort of show you how I would do the questions, and hopefully that'll help you in preparation for the exam. Okay, so the first question says, determine whether a given ordered pair is a solution of the equation. So this is an x value and this is a y value. So to determine if it's a solution or not, you just plug those values in. So I'd go 5 times x over here is a 5, plus y is a 3, is equal to 28. And that's what I'm wanting to know if they are. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 plus 3 is indeed 28. Therefore, I'd say the 0.53 is a solution. Okay, question 1. All right, next question. Question 2, find the x and y intercepts for the equation, then graph. To find the x and y intercepts for this equation, I could change this equation here to the y equals mx plus b form. But to find intercepts, it's quite a bit easier just to plug 0 in for one of the letters and solve for the other. So if I want to find the x-intercept, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a 0 everywhere I see a y. Okay, so I have 12y minus 3x equals negative 9. So a 0 in for y. So 12 times 0 minus 3x equals negative 9. 12 times 0 is 0, so I'd have 0 minus 3x, or I could just call it minus 3x is equal to minus 9. And then I'll divide both sides by a negative 3, and I'm left with x is equal to a positive 3. So that's the x-intercept. And that point would be 1, 2, 3 right there. Okay, now let's find the y-intercept. And similarly, to find the y-intercept, you take a 0, but this time you plug it in for x. So I've got 12y minus 3x equals negative 9. And I need to put a 0 in for x. So 12y minus 3 times 0 equals negative 9. So it'd be 12y minus 0, because 3 times 0 is 0, so it's not there anymore, because you subtract 0 and it doesn't change, is equal to minus 9. And then divide both sides by 12. So I get y is equal to a negative 9/12. Or I can divide all those by 3, so it'd be negative 3/4. Okay, so negative 3/4, there's 1, so negative 3/4 would be right about there. And they say graph the equation, so now I have to draw a line that goes through those 2 points. So something that looks something like that would be my line. All right, question. Number 3, graph the line containing the given pair of points and find the slope. Okay, so 2, negative 10 would be a point right there. Negative 1 and 5 would be a point right there. Okay, so graph the line, and I can draw a line between them, something like that. I wish I had a ruler. And then it says find the slope. So to find the slope, I can do a rise over run thing. I could use the formula, m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, but I'm just going to count. So from this point down here to get to that point up there, I have to go up 15. So my rise over run. So my rise is I have to go up 15, and then I have to go, so if I'm up 15, that puts me here, and then I have to go 1, 2, 3 over to the left. And if I go left, that's a negative, so it'd be negative 3. So my slope then would be 15 over negative 3. If I divide those, I could just call it negative 5. If I want to write it as a fraction, I could write it as negative 5 over 1. Next question, find the slope of this line. Okay, I could do a table of values and plug in a value for x, solve for y. I could do that, but it's easier just to change this equation to look like this. So if I can rework this thing to make it look like this one down here, then whatever is in front of the x is my slope. That's what I'm going to do. So I'm starting with 2x minus 3y equals 15. I'm going to move the 2x over to the other side and make it negative. So I'll have negative 3y is equal to a negative 2x plus 15. Okay, so notice that I just took this and it was positive there. I moved it over to this side and it became negative. All right, so now I have, let me just write it out again. Negative 3y equals negative 2x plus 15. And I'm wanting to just get a y there, so I have to divide everything by negative 3. Negative 3, negative 3, negative 3. So on the left they cancel, I'm just left with a y. On the right side, negative 2 divided negative 3, that won't simplify, other than the negatives will cancel. So it would be 2/3 x. 15 divided negative 3 would be a negative 5. So the question asked me for the slope. The slope is whatever's in front of the x. So my slope is equal to 2/3. If they would have asked, I could have also said the y-intercept is negative 5. And again, I could have graphed it. The question doesn't ask me to, though. Next one. Find the slope and the y-intercept. Oh, this is what I was just saying. So from here, I'm going to leave the 3y where it's at. I'll move the negative 2x over to the other side. It'll become a positive 2x plus 3. Okay, so this is what I have, but I want to get y by itself. So I'll divide this by 3, and this by 3, and this by 3. So it'll be y is equal to 2/3 x. 3 divided 3 is plus 1. So the slope then is 2/3, and the y-intercept is 1. Again, if I wanted to, I could graph it. The y-intercept is 1. Let me just put some numbers on these. Bit of a grid. So the y-intercept is 1. That's right there. And then the slope says to rise 2 and run 3. So if I rise 2, 1, 2, and run 3, 1, 2, 3. There's another point right there. So the graph of that line is going to look something like that. All right, next one. Find the equation of the line that contains a given pair of points and write the equation in that form. All right, well, to get that equation, I need to find out what the slope is, and I need to find out what the y-intercept is. If I have 2 points, I could graph those and then determine the rise over run, or just use this formula. When you use this formula, a good idea to mark what the points are above. So this x, or the 5, I'm calling x1. So the 0 is y1, and the negative 4 is x2, and the negative 8 is y2. Okay, so now I just plug things in. So y2 is a negative 8 minus y1 is a 0 over x2 is a negative 4 minus x1 is a 5. Okay, so that gives me on the top a negative 8 over, on the bottom, negative 4 minus 5 is a negative 9. Since there's 2 negatives, they can cancel, so my slope will be 8/9. Now I'm quite excited because now if I have my equation like this, I know what the slope is. I can plug that in right where the m is. So really I have y equals 8/9 x. This should be a b here, plus b. Okay, but I don't know what b is. That's another thing I've got to figure out. So now, in this question here, because I have an x and a y value up here, or another x and a y value there, I can use those points and plug them in wherever I see an x and a y. I'm going to use that first point just because it seems a little easier. So the y value is 0 equals 8/9. The x value is a 5 plus b. Now I need to solve for b. So I'm going to take this stuff here and move it to the left side. So it'll be a negative 8/9 times 5 is equal to a positive b. Might as well multiply this stuff over. That's like 5 over 1, right? So negative 8 times 5 is negative 40 over 9. And yeah, I guess I could write that as a decimal, but I think this looks good. It's a nice improper fraction. So they say write the equation, so now I need to finish that off. So the equation should be written like this. I found my slope right there. So that's 8/9 x. And then plus my y-intercept I found down there is a negative 40 over 9. So there's my equation. All right, next question. Draw a line that has a given slope and a y-intercept. Always start with your y-intercept. So my y-intercept is 0, 2. That's that point right there. Then they say the slope is negative 1/2. Careful with that. So they say negative 1/2. When you're graphing, you need to take that negative and either put it on the top or on the bottom, but not both. I'm going to put it, doesn't matter, I'll put it on the top, over 2. So it means my rise is negative 1 and my run is 2. So rise at negative 1 means I'd fall. So from that point that I have, I'm going to go down 1. Let me get a different color, purple. So I'm going to go down 1, and then I'm going to go to the right 2. So 1, 2, right there. So here's my new point. And then I just draw a line between them. Draw a line that has a given slope and the y-intercept. Done. Next question. Determine whether the graphs are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. To determine that, you need to find the slope. It's all about the slope. If the slope of the first line is the same as the slope as the second line, they're parallel. For perpendicular, if the product of the two slopes are equal to a negative 1, that means they're perpendicular. And if neither of those things happen, that means they're not perpendicular or parallel. Key to do that is to write the equations in this form. Okay, and hopefully you've gotten good at that. So this first question, the first line, 6x plus 2y equals 8. I'm going to convert that into y equals mx plus b. And then I'm going to take 4y minus 18 equals negative 12x, and I'm going to convert that to the same thing. And once I get there, I need to compare whatever's in front. First one, I'll leave 2y where it's at. I'll move the 6x over. It becomes negative. Okay, now I'll divide everything by 2. So y is equal to 6 divided 2 is negative 3x. 8 divided 2 is 4. So my slope for that line is negative 3. Let's see what it is for the next line. I'm going to leave 4y where it's at, and I'll move the 18 over the other side and make it positive. Notice that I'm just making sure I put things in the right order. Okay, so now I'll divide everything by 4. Divide by 4. So I'm going to get y is equal to negative 3x. 18 divided by 4, I don't know, 4.5 or something. We'll call it 9 over 2. I'll just simplify the fraction. This one doesn't really matter, though, because what I'm looking at is that right there. So that slope is negative 3. The slope over here is also negative 3. So since the slope of the first line is equal to the slope of the second line, that means that these lines are parallel. On a graph, they would look something like this. But they'd be parallel lines, railroad track, that kind of stuff. Question. Oh, this one I need to find whether they're parallel, perpendicular, or the same. The first line's nice. It's already written in the right form. Don't have to do anything there. Its slope is 2. Let's do the next one. 8x plus 4y equals 8. Okay, I have to move the 8x over. This one. So that'll become a negative 8x. And this is a plus 8. Now I'll divide everything by 4. Divide 4, divide 4. So I get y is equal to negative 2x plus 2. Okay, so here's the slope of that line. So I look at the slope of this line is 2, this slope of this line is negative 2, and the product of those is negative 4. So these lines are neither. So they're not parallel, and they're not perpendicular. I guess to describe what they would be, they would just be intersecting lines. They'd look, one would look like that, the other one would look something like this, and they just cross somewhere, but nothing special. All right, next question. Now we're jumping chapters. I think this is chapter 4. And it says, evaluate this expression when x is negative 7. So, like we did in class, if you see an x, put a bracket. Squared minus 7. And they're telling me to put a negative 7 in where x is. So that's negative 7. Negative 7 squared is a positive 49. Take away 7. When you subtract those two, you get 42. So 42 is the value of this expression when x is a negative 7. Multiply and simplify. Okay, I'm multiplying common bases. They all have an x. So if I'm multiplying common bases, the rule is to add the exponents. So I could write this as x to the negative 9 plus 3 plus a negative 8. Okay, so negative 9 plus 3, that'd be negative 6. Negative 6 plus negative 8 would be negative 14. Good, I'm recording, Donna. And now this one, it's a negative exponent. And so I would want to make it positive. So I'd go 1 over x to the positive 14. So when they say simplify, that's part of that is rewrite things with positive exponents instead of negative ones. All right, next one. Simplify. Okay, I've got something in brackets and everything's raised to the 4th power. So what I can do is I can separate all of those things inside, like the negative 3, raise it to the 4th power. Take the x cubed, raise it to the 4th power. And take the y and raise it to the 4th power. Okay, that's a power of a product. That's the rule for there. Okay, negative 3 to the 4th is negative 3 times itself 4 times. It comes out to a positive 81. X cubed to the 4th, that's the power of a power rule. I multiply those, so that'd be x to the 12th. And then another power rule, this is y to the 1st. If you times the exponents, that'd be y to the 4th. Done. Next one. Write the number in scientific notation. So I'm going to go past the first non-zero number and put the decimal. So 1.38 times 10, and then up here, for the exponent, I'm going to write how many times I had to move the decimal place. 1, 2, 3, 4. And since this is a very small number, this has to be a negative. So it'd be a negative 4. So 1.38 times 10 to the minus 4. Collect like terms, range in descending order. Okay, like terms. Is there another b to the 9th? Yeah, right there. So I'm down 12. I gain 14, so I'd be up 2 b to the 9ths. Is there any b7s? Yeah, right there. I'm up 10. I lose 8, so I'd still be up 2 b to the 7ths. And then lastly, there's nobody to go with him, so I just have to leave him alone. Okay, then just check to make sure it's in descending order. So the exponent here is 9, and then 7 and 2, descending order. Done. Next one, add these. And this question is very similar to the one just before. Okay, I'm going to add. So are there any other 4x or x to the 8s? No. So 4x to the 8s alone. Here's an x to the 7th. Let's do that one next, just to make sure it's in descending order. But that's the only one, so I'll write plus 6x to the 7th. Here's an x to the 6. Here's another in there. So I'm down 5 and I gain 3, so I'd still be in the whole 2x to the 6ths. Okay, x squared, I don't see a match to that, so I'll just write it. Negative 3x, no match, so just write it. And just the constant term, just a plus 6. So that would be my addition. Notice that if this is an addition, I can really just disregard the brackets and just add things up. However, if it's a subtraction, that's a dirty, rotten, filthy, stinking negative. So the first thing I need to do is deal with that. I can drop the brackets of the first expression, plus 3 minus 9x to the fourth. But now I need to apply that negative to every term in the second bracket. So the negative 7 is going to change to a positive 7. Positive 4x fourth is going to be negative 4x to the fourth. Negative 7x to the fifth, and negative 9x cubed. Now I can take a look and collect like terms. So highest degree looks to be a 5. So there's a 5. Here's another 5. Is that all of them? Yep. So I'm up 4, I lose 7, so I'd be down 3x to the fifths. Okay, here's an x to the fourth. Here's another one. Is that all of them? Yep. So down 9, down another 4, so it'd be down 13 x to the fourths. Okay, here's an x cubed. Oh, and here's an x cubed. So I'm down 2, I lose another 9, so it'd be down 11 x cubes. Okay, it looks like that's all the x's. Now I just have a constant term of 3 and a constant term of 7. 3 plus 7 is 10. Done. That'd be my answer. Yeah. I have to do the same thing as I did on that. Monomials, so I just have to worry about sign, numbers, and letters. So negative times a positive, my answer is going to be negative. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 times 8, I'm hoping is 200. And then x's, if I'm multiplying common bases, I add their exponents. So 3 plus 6 is 9, plus 2 is 11. Done. So that's multiplying monomials. There. Hope this is all recording. I have to do that to both. Okay, so 9 times 12, I think, is 108, and it's negative. X to the fourth times x to the sixth would be x to the 10th. That'll be for the first term. And then 9x to the fourth times the next one will be a positive 54x to the sixth. Okay, so I just multiply the first term by that and by that. Okay, now here's where I have two binomials. So this is where that FOIL thing came in. Or just make sure that you multiply this first term by both terms in the next bracket, and then multiply the second term by both terms in the next bracket. So 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times 11 is a negative 44x. 1 times x is a positive 1x, and 1 times negative 11 is negative 11. Notice that typically when you do these, you can simplify the middle terms. So negative 44 plus 1 would be a negative 43x minus 11. Can't do anything more with that. Because these aren't like terms, I can't add anything else. Okay, another one just the same as the one we just did. So multiply this by that, and then this by that, and that. So 3p times 3p, 9p squared. 3p times positive 5 would be a positive 15p. Negative 5 times 3 is a negative 15p. And then negative 5 times 5 is a negative 25. Notice that these two in the middle, one's a positive 15, one's a negative 15, they'll cancel out. So my final answer will be 9p squared minus 25. Okay, and last question. W minus 3 squared means W minus 3 times W minus 3. And now I do the same thing. I have to FOIL the whole thing. So it'll be W squared minus 3W minus another 3W plus 9. Collecting the like terms leaves me with a minus 6W plus 9. That's it. All right, I hope that helps you with your studying for the test.